Okay, so that's when we found Tamara. We'd heard about her through my chiropractor, so called and spoke with her on the phone. And remember hanging up that phone call and just feeling really disappointed and crying because of the amount of money, not really knowing how we were going to get there, even though we knew this is where God was sending us. Ended up that my family was able to support me and send me down there. So a week after talking to Tamara on the phone, flew down to Middle Tennessee and met with her. Tamara found that I had pesticide poisoning and organophosphates that were affecting my vagus nerve, which goes directly to your GI tract, so all of that made complete sense. We went through extensive therapies down here. So we went through extensive therapies here using detox and nutritional therapy. And I was here initially for about 2 weeks. Ended up going home. Was very sensitive to things around me. It was different, but we had made a little bit of progress, but we had also opened up a lot more that my body had to deal with. So I ended up coming back again later that summer. That time it was about 4 weeks. Basically lived here, got to know everybody really well. It was like a home away from home. Again, went home, dealt with some more issues of environmental things, just trying to figure out what was going on with my body. But at the same time getting better. We were making progress even though some days it seemed very, very small. Ended up going back again for about 6 weeks that year. And again, we made lots of progress. We learned a lot. Just learned so much about my body, and it was just fascinating to see how God has made us. He's made us just so wonderfully, and we know so little. So I ended up going home after that. Now we're getting into 2009, which at first in 2009 we were doing pretty well. Still getting used to being sensitive to different environmental, like pesticides, herbicides, colognes, perfumes. Just trying to get used to that, figure out kind of where my place was and how to blend all of that into my lifestyle. Ended up coming down to see Tamara later that summer, and we did a couple weeks. Had gone home, and in July I was walking in a 4th of July parade with our business and kind of tripped, didn't think much of it, but ended up going in because I couldn't walk. They thought it was a high ankle sprain because they tested by squeezing my calf. A couple days later was in terrible pain, standing up, having gravity pull down. So we went in, they took the cast off, and they ended up sending me to do a Doppler, and they found a blood clot in my left leg. It was abnormally large. They sent me directly to the ER. They put me on blood thinners. They put me on heparin. They ended up taking me off heparin, put me down onto Coumadin. To get your INR, it was about a 2.4, which is exactly where it should have been. They went through and said, because of your age, it won't go to your lungs. There's no concern with that. You'll be just fine. I was discharged on a Friday afternoon. Sunday morning, I was at church. My husband was not there on that particular day. I was there with my in-laws. And I kind of felt this weird gurgling in my left leg. But again, didn't think much of it. Ended up just not feeling well, so I'd gone out to the narthex to lay down, and I suddenly could not breathe. There was a nurse that went to our church there. She came out. She was telling me, your color looks good, but I felt like somebody was strangling me. I could not catch my breath. Ended up being transported back to the hospital by ambulance, and they found that the blood clot had moved from my leg to my lung. After telling me that that would never happen, could not happen, it was impossible, it did. I failed Coumadin treatment. So that was another week plus in the hospital. That was a really rough week because, again, they tried to diagnose me with depression. They told me that I was crazy. They told me that I couldn't have any more kids. That had been taken away as well. They had to put a filter in and out, which I have very low blood pressure, which again is all related to my chemical sensitivities and the problems with my brain and the vagus nerve. So when they went to put that in, they could not sedate me. I was awake, and I had a nurse that had to hold my head and wipe my tears because it was excruciatingly painful as they put that in. They had to put plasma in because my blood was really thin. We were having trouble regulating it. I had multiple IVs running because you cannot have plasma with the same IV as the heparin. They ended up putting me on Lovenox, which is a sub-Q in the hospital. It was twice a day. For a blood clot, I still had it in my leg. You have petechial hemorrhaging, so you look like you have red polka dots all over your leg. I had to go through therapy to help me walk again because I hadn't been up. You can't breathe after putting in the filter. I couldn't move my head. If I wanted to move my head, I had to have somebody pick it up and move it for me. So that was about a week of that. After that, definitely called Tamara back again, told her what had happened. They put me through extensive testing to see if I had a blood clotting disorder. Of course, they found nothing, which was not a big shocker, but we again attributed that to my sensitivity to chemicals, that my body had come in contact with something. It had reacted, obviously, very severely. Got back down to Tamara. We were able to work through that, deal with the vasculitis, the severe inflammation, and get my body back to a plateau after 2008, 2009, that summer. Or no, 2008, goodness, too much time. So after that, we had a couple more ER visits where I would have trouble breathing. We thought I had a heart attack once. It was not a heart attack. It mimicked the symptoms of one, but it wasn't. So in July of 2009, I ended up back down here again because I'd gone to a race with my family, and car races, and was suddenly hit with, again, severe pain that is off the charts, that morphine is a joke. It doesn't even do anything for it. Was screaming, crying, could not figure out what was wrong. We decided to not go to the ER right away because I can't stand going there. They don't help at all. They make things worse. We ended up going in because we went all night. We tried QRS, we tried praying through it, and we were just getting nowhere. So we ended up going in. The only thing they could find was another cyst, which they said, again, the general population already has those. They put me through 8 or 9 pelvic exams trying to figure this out, which is unbelievably painful. So we got through that, ended up getting out of there and flying immediately down to Tamara. That, I believe I was here for 3 days at that time. Those were probably the 3 hardest days I've ever had here. Probably the 3 days I've scared Tamara the most. We had a wild week. A lot of tears, a lot of really having to work through. My body was finally ready to purge some pretty tough stuff. We got through that, and I haven't been back until now, which is May of 2010. So God has been so good and has used Tamara in an incredible way. God has gifted Tamara with something that I don't think a lot of people have, and she's blessed me tremendously. So I've gone from one extreme to the other. God is my healer, but He has used Tamara, so I praise Him for that. That's all.